All right, folks. Commissioner Bebe-Jones here. This is not the Lex and Pete show. This is more of just a commissioner exclusive, um, kind of like the press conferences that I used to have in year one. I just want to hop on here and clear some things up about the draft lottery. So, after a conversation I had this morning with a team owner whose name shall remain anonymous, it has been brought to my attention that at least two teams do not fully grasp the concept of the draft lottery. Pete told me that he's working on a trade that has since been paused until the details of the lottery are made public. And while I agree that these probabilities should be made official prior to the 2023 season, they should be easy public knowledge. I do fear that we're reaching a big brain stimulus level of misunderstanding and overreaction here. So I just wanted to talk some things out and show you guys some things so everybody can kind of have that understanding moving forward. So the lottery, much like the stimulus, is nothing more than a minor twist to spice things up. The chance for significant impact is low, and while there is at least a decent chance that two consecutive picks in the top four switch spots, the odds of significant movement, say the fourth pick moving all the way up to one, are so low that if it were to happen, it would be considered monumental in league history. All right. So that's what my intentions were when I first proposed it. I'm not looking to drastically change anything. I don't want to make the fourth overall pick just as valuable as the first overall pick. I do feel like it adds a tiny, tiny bit of value to it without taking away any value from those top, like true top picks, the ones and the twos. I don't think that that affects them too much to begin with. But that's what my intentions were. I just wanted to mix things up, spice it up a little bit. If I feel like if once out of every 10 years the fourth pick moves into the top two, I'd consider a lottery a success from an entertainment standpoint. But more often than not, the lottery will keep the order as is with the potential of minor tweaks, like I mentioned. So before we get into the actual logistics and the probabilities of it, I just want to revisit that comment about big brain levels of overthinking and overreacting. So everybody remembers the scandal, the stimulus scandal from year one. It was about week 10, I believe, and I gave a 20 fab stimulus. By that point, pretty much any free agent of relevance was picked up off of the waiver wire. In any fantasy league, you're never getting, I mean, I guess in redraft you are, but in any dynasty league, you're not going to get anybody of real value that can help you win a championship in week 10. By that point, if they are worth picking up and they can help you win games, they're already off the waiver wire. But that's neither here nor there. We've talked about that plenty, right? What I'm talking about is trading future picks, right? So in this new lottery era, if you're trading for a future pick, you're already playing the lottery. We're talking about a 2024 pick here. We're 2 weeks away, at least, from the 2023 rookie draft. We're not even a year out from that 2024 draft. So you're already playing the lottery because you don't actually know where these picks are going to end up. You can make educated guesses, right, about where it's going to end up, right? If it's one of the better teams, you can assume that it's going to be a late first. If it's a team that's competing for a playoff spot, but maybe not a runaway favorite, that's a mid first. If it's a bad team that is committed to tanking or they're in their rebuild right now, that is an early first. An early first would apply to the top four spots. That's the lottery right there. The top third of the draft, 1 through 4. That is an early first. That's how any of these picks should be viewed now. If you feel like it's a lottery pick and you're so worried about the percentages and whether it's going to be 3% to be third overall or 15% to be fourth overall, you're thinking way too much. You're looking way too deep into it. None of that is guaranteed. Even looking at it as an early first isn't guaranteed. I mean, look at Simcoe's team, right? Simcoe's team going into last year was the second overall pick. And then after the regular season, they were arguably the best team in the league. They had Jalen Hurts took a massive step up. You got Lamar, the guys that he had, Josh Jacobs, right? Josh Jacobs went from being, kind of like the black sheep of the running back family who was consistently a RB10, a fringe RB1 to being one of the top fantasy running backs. Nobody saw that coming. Teams, you don't know what teams are going to do. You don't know if they're going to trade and go all in for a championship run or go and commit to the tank and strip their roster down to bare bones. You don't know which players, whether it's young players stepping up or older players regressing, or maybe some guys just aren't as good as we thought. I mean, look at a guy like Elijah Moore, who was like a must-have coming off of his rookie season, especially that second half. So now all of a sudden he couldn't get any targets in that Jets offense that needed receivers. So you don't know, which players are going to step up or regress. You don't know what teams are going to do, right? You don't know which rosters will get bit by the injury bug or anything like that. So I just want to say, don't overthink things. If it's an early first, just look at it in that scope of it'll probably be in the lottery. Let's just treat it as such. If you feel like it's the runaway, like for example, Pete, right? Pete was obviously so committed to the tank last year. We knew that he was going to be that first overall pick. If it's a pick like that, you can view it as the first overall pick because these percentages aren't going to be nearly enough to make that like an overarching theme with the lottery picks. It's not going to be a constant threat. It's more than likely going to end up in the spot that it's in or that you think it'll be in, and there's just a slight chance that it moves up or down. That is all. So if you're that close to a deal and the only thing that is keeping you away from making this deal is whether or not there's like a small percentage that it's the third pick and not the fourth pick, you're thinking way too much. You are way overthinking it. You need to take a step back and you need to relax. All right. So let's get into the logistics of the lottery itself. As we all voted on last year, the lottery will be made up of the bottom 4 regular season teams, and that's determined by potential points for. Quick refresher for you, potential points for calculates the optimal lineup every week. It's like a best ball format. Points we feel like are the best determinant for whether a team is good or bad. Wins and losses can be heavily reliant on schedule and luck. I think anyone in our league has played fantasy enough that you've had those times where you put up a monster week, but you happen to be playing against the one team that scored more than you. And there's nothing worse than being the second highest scorer in the league that week and still losing. So, wins do matter. We don't want to say that wins don't matter in this league, but we've definitely put points for, kind of up on its own tier compared to maybe some leagues do, because we feel like over the course of a season, that is the best determinant of whether or not a team is good or bad. So with the potential points for, that factors in management, right? I mean, maybe sometimes teams are just bad at picking who should be in their flex and they always pick the wrong guy. But other times, if you have a truly bad roster, it's kind of like a cream rises thing, right? If you have a good roster, you're going to be competing for the playoffs. If you have a truly bad roster, you're going to sink to the bottom and you're going to go into the lottery. So if you want to tank, we've always said this in this league, do it the right way. Trade away players that aren't part of your vision. Maybe they're old. Maybe they're just not the style of player that you like to build around. You don't think that contributes to dynasty success. If they're not part of your vision, trade them away and get picks and players that are, whether that's trading for youth or trading for a star that you need or targeting specific picks in the draft. You should go for those. But we feel like benching bona fide starters for inferior talent, knowing or hoping at least that it'll lose you the game, that's loser behavior. It's not tolerated in this league, and you will be dealt with accordingly. But as far as the actual percentages go, let me share my screen really quick, just so we can, I know some people, they need picture books. So here you have it. All right. Okay. You can see my mouse. You can see it moving around. So this would be the lottery if we were doing it for the 2023 rookie draft, this upcoming rookie draft. So the bottom 4 teams were the Most Athletic Sons, the Slow Stroke Kings, PTSO, and Slippery Pete. They are listed in order, top to bottom, Slippery Pete being first, the Most Athletic Sons being fourth. So we will put their 4 names into here. Here are the chances. So that's basically like how many lottery balls they have in the machine. So if you are the first overall seed, I guess, if you want to call it that, Slippery Pete would have 90 lottery balls. That gives them a 90% chance to get, let me clear this, that gives you a 90% chance to get the first overall pick. If you finish as the second worst team, you have a 7% chance to get the first overall pick. If you finish third, you have a 2% chance. And if you finish fourth, you have a 1% chance. These here are the different picks, first, second, third, and fourth. And these are each team's probabilities of landing in that slot. So as you can see, if you're second overall, you still have a massive chance of just being the second pick. If you're third overall, it's about 50-50 if you're third. And if you're fourth overall, it's about 2/3 chance that you're going to still end up in that fourth overall spot. So I just want to show you here. So we're going to put all these in. Here are the percentages. What we're going to do is I think that simming it once is maybe anticlimactic. It's a bit underwhelming for the viewer. And also, I feel like it kind of takes the randomness out of it. So we're going to sim the lottery 10 times. And then we're going to settle whatever that 10th result is. Those will be the lottery results. Okay, so I'm going to do it now. I don't think that you're going to be able to see necessarily when I do it, so I'm just going to call it out every time that I sim, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if this were this year's draft and this were the official lottery, the draft order would go Slippery Pete at 1, Slow Stroke Kings at 2, Put That Shit On at 3, Most Athletic Sons at 4. If you watched it, you would see how things were changing over the course. How sometimes we ended up in that same order. How there, I saw one in there where Slippery Pete did slip to the second overall pick. But through 10 times, 10 times given these probabilities, it's more often than not going to be something like this, or just a straight 1, 2, 3, 4 like you would expect. So it's these minor changes that I'm talking about, second going to third, those 2 picks flipping, but the first overall pick is safe. The fourth overall pick did not move at all. That's just how it's working. I'm going to stop sharing for now. I'm going to post that. I'm going to post a graphic that shows the percentages at least. I don't know if I'm going to post this as a blog or not, but at least the actual link to the YouTube, I'm going to post it in the chat, the league chat, and I'm going to pin it. That way we can always go back and we can refer to it if people have any questions. But I just wanted to come in here and just give everybody the reassurance that we're not looking to create massive, massive shakeups. Like we still want it to be fantasy football, at its core. We don't want to add too many twists and get away from what that game is. It's just a little thing that can spice things up. I'm looking for minor tweaks like this, and then every once in a while, once in a blue moon, we get that massive uptick. Not uptick, but we have that massive monumental moment where the fourth overall pick is suddenly picking first. Everybody goes crazy. But I would like to also reiterate that we voted on this as a league. Majority voted for it. If you didn't like it, if you didn't understand how it works, and now you understand you hate it, that's on you for voting for it, not knowing how it works. But I feel like we've all kind of, opted in for the risk that comes with it, because for every person that owns their pick and they lose it, there's somebody that owns that pick and they come up off of it. There's a winner and there's a loser. So I hope that this cleared things up. I'm going to post this soon. If you have any questions, you can ask me in private. You can ask me in the league chat. I always prefer you just do it in the league chat, because if you have that question, I promise you somebody else has that question as well, and we can just kind of nip it in the bud there and just get it over with. But that's all I got for it now. Again, if you have any questions, just reach out.